Lyndon, while we're at it, do you want to just tell me the names of the people on the committee?
Barb, Gina, Danielle, and David Parker. And
Okay.
David, it looks like David's logged in. Danielle, Barb should be coming back, so she will have a quorum when she gets back.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, that sucked.
I'm in a school board meeting. Yes.
Okay, Barb, you do have a quorum. I don't see Gina, but everyone else is here on your committee.
Right. Here, I'm not seeing anything. Hold on. I'm sorry. Huh. I have a blank screen at the moment. All right, I'm going to try this again. I am so sorry. I was early and everything. I should have left it alone. Okay, I'm back, but I still don't have the hand raising. So,
Did you move your cursor so that it goes down at the bottom of the screen and then?
I have the camera. I have the microphone. I just don't have the hand.
I
have the whole menu of things.
So, and you moved your cursor around, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, down to the bottom.
Barb, check the 3 dots that say more actions. It's possible that raise the hand is under that. 3 dots, more actions.
Show device settings, show meeting enter full screen. Nope, I don't see it there either. Huh. I don't know. I'm going to do one more thing. Give me 3 minutes.
Point someone in your committee to let you know if the hand is raised.
Back now. Yeah, I'll have to. I relogged out and did switch my, so it's only my school account and it still isn't showing up. So I'll just have to have someone to help me with the hand raising thing. Okay, so we have a quorum now.
You do. All members of your committee are on, as well as, well, I think, all board members.
Nice. Okay. All right. So I guess I will get going then and call the meeting to order. I keep losing you here. Okay. See, when it's not my meeting, my computer works fine. So that's just the way life is. All right. So welcome everybody to the August 31st, 2020 meeting of the Instructional Committee of the Concord School Board. Due to the fact that we're following under government orders for issues around COVID, I'm going to read the emergency statement that we start every meeting with to follow protocol and keep everything above board in the way it's supposed to be. So as chair of the instructional committee of the Concord School Board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the declared by the governor, with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to executive order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. The business we intend to conduct today is necessary due to the need to complete the regular ongoing business of the instructional committee and to consider several specific issues relating to our plan for heading back to school. This will not include tonight taking public comment. This is a committee meeting, and in general, our committee meetings, people are welcome to come and observe. We don't often have public comment, and although we're in a bit of a bind here, we have a lot to talk about, and as a committee, we will take votes and make recommendations to the board. Public comment will be welcomed and encouraged at our regular meeting, which is September 8th. Okay. The district is actively working on a plan to resume in-person board meetings, and we expect to resume meeting in person by the time students return to school. We did try to put it together for tonight, but it was a bit tricky, a lot of last minute, a lot of unknowns. We thought this would be just a more stable environment for now. When we do live meetings, we'll need to provide a space that allows for both remote and in-person participation of board members and members of the public, consistent with protocols. For this meeting, however, we will continue to have no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously. However, in accordance with the emergency order, we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access by other electronic means. We are utilizing Microsoft Teams for this meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in the meeting through dialing the following number: 925-391-1169. The conference ID number is 494-739-791. You can click on the link on the school district website as well. The meeting is being broadcast contemporaneously on CCTV's education channel, which is Comcast Channel 6, or on the YouTube channel, Concord NHTV. And a recording of the meeting will be posted on the CCTV's website. Please note that those listening on the education channel may need to up the volume quite considerably on their television, as sometimes it's very low than other channels. We ask members of the public and actually everyone in the meeting to keep your microphones muted until you're called upon to speak. This reduces the likelihood of background noise and embarrassing comments that sometimes make their way to public. But we encourage members to listen to the live stream and TV broadcast as well. We previously give notice to the public of necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Microsoft Teams or telephonically. The meeting and pertinent instructions were posted on the website of the board at sau8.org more than 24 hours prior to the meeting. In the event that the public is unable to access the meeting would be adjourned and rescheduled. That will not happen tonight. Okay, so now I need to take a roll call to determine if we have a quorum of committee members and to see what other board members are present, as well as district staff. So, Ms. Cannon, are you present?
I am present and I'm alone.
Thank you. Mr. Croto, are you present? I'll give you time. I see your face.
I am present, thank you.
Mr. Crush, are you present? Okay, do not believe he is present. Mr. Parker, are you present?
I'm present.
Excellent. Ms. Ponier, are you present?
I am, and alone, thanks.
Excellent. Mr. Richards, are you present?
I am present and alone, thank you.
Ms. Patterson, are you present? Mr. Nope. And I, Barbara Higgins, the chair of the committee, am present. Kathleen, can you give me a little rundown of who's here from the district?
I'm here too. It's Danielle.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you on my list. I'm sorry, Danielle.
I'm here with
Brooke. Are you present?
We all set. So with us this evening for the meeting is Donna Pally, our assistant superintendent. Jack Dunn is hosting us and covering all the technology pieces. So he's in the background, but Jack's with us tonight. Bob Belmont, our special ed director, is also with us, and a number of our school administrators, school principals are with us this evening also.
Excuse
Okay.
me, Barb. Excuse me, Barb, it's Lyndon. Could you specify for the audience which board members are actually on this committee so
Yes,
that
thank
they're
you.
aware? Thank
Yep,
you.
and I'll do that. So the instructional committee is made up of myself, Gina Cannon, Danielle Smith, and David Parker. So 4 of us are the instructional committee. And as is in typical fashion, especially since COVID and our issues of last year, the full board has attended almost every committee meeting in a very long time. So we have, almost a quorum of the whole board here as well. But it's myself, David, Gina, and Danielle. Okay. So the gist of the meeting tonight is to do 2 things. One is to update both the board and the public on progress that's been made in getting our district ready to welcome students on the 8th, both remotely and some in person. And to look at what we've done, to look ahead, to figure out when we might want to suggest getting our hybrid component going. So we have a lot to talk about tonight. I do want to say again to the public, I'm not trying at all to withhold or not give you all a chance to communicate and speak. This is a real work session tonight, and the communications that we've gotten from the public have been phenomenal, passionate, articulate, from the heart, logical, and I will say covering all ends of the spectrum in this particular regard. So as a board and as a district, it's a lot to filter through. So the first item on our agenda would be an update for staffing numbers. So at our last meeting, we had talked about not having a clear idea of how many staff were willing to come in person, do a bit of both, wanted to stay remote. So I'm not sure who's going to do that for us. Kathleen, is that you?
Yes, I'd be happy to do that. As you know, when the board made the decision around the remote versus the in-person, and I discussed the issues that impact our staff, those being the 3 major issues being their own medical issues, perhaps an autoimmune system problem, whatever it was that staff may have that put them at risk. That was one area. Also, the fact that there may be a member of their family at home with some serious illnesses that would put them in a compromising position. And the third challenge for our faculty was around childcare, and probably a major one with our staff members. And the board moved to allow them the choice of remote versus in person. In doing so, prior to that, we're in pretty good shape. We had about 75 requests or so. But since that time, the numbers have gone to 300, over 300. And let me try to explain why. The staff let us know what their position was relative to where they felt they could be. And in many cases, we found that it varied from person to person. There's some we had medical documentations, and we've had others who have said, I can come in 3 days and 2 days, so they're getting coverage for their own children while they're home. So we had a lot of a variety of situations for the staff, and we're working through that, and we still are working through that. How many staff members must be totally remote, and how many can do literally a hybrid for themselves, so that we can use their skills and to help us with our students. So right now we're working our way through that. We're working with the principals. They've done, again, our administrators have done a fabulous job in identifying how they can match student up with their teachers. So that's kind of the number. Now that's more than just teachers. That's more than just teachers. That includes our ed associates, that includes our tutors, folks that are working in all of our departments, food service, bus, custodial services, as well as our administrative assistants. So it covers all of our employees in the district, including our administrators. But we haven't had any requests from them. But so we're getting there in terms of the staff availability. That's really the question, the staff availability and the students. So I don't know if you have any questions on that, but that's pretty much where we stand on it.
Gina, are you able to see the hand raising?
Yes, I am.
So does anyone have their, I'm going to have you be my assistant tonight if you don't mind. And you can do that. So do you see
Sure.
anyone who has a question right now?
Yeah, Jack just raised his hand.
Okay, great. So I'll let you facilitate this piece, Gina. Thank you.
Ignore that, I'm taking it down.
Jack, go ahead.
No, you can ignore it, Gina, I'm just trying to fix it.
Oh, he was ignoring it. You can ignore it. So is that it? Just him?
Yep, he put his hand down.
Okay. All right. So I guess my one question, Kathleen, so this isn't just 300 classroom teachers or
No,
special.
no. This cures everybody in the district.
Excellent. Okay, that's a bit of a relief. That'd be tricky. Okay. But I also feel as we unfold, a lot of these, some of the up in the air pieces seem like they could resolve themselves and things like this will work out. So I'm going to remain hopeful here. So the
Well,
next,
I am too. I just want to be very clear that we have a lot of staff that are willing to come in. They've written to us about right now remaining remote, but they've also communicated to us their willingness to come in. So what we're trying to do right now is match our at-risk programs with those teachers. And then as we prepare down the road for, because I'm going to make a recommendation this evening around hybrid, that we also match that up, but we still just keep this in mind now. We still are going to need some students who have parents and families have decided to keep their children home. So we have a responsibility for remote. So we need teachers who are willing to remote too. So that's a match. It's a match.
great. So what's our returning student count look like?
So Dave's hand is up. Do you want me
Yep,
to?
I was just going to call on him, but then it went back
before I
down.
go any further?
Dave?
Okay.
Yes, it sounds like, the faculty, like many of the other citizens experienced the challenge of having, children at home
Mhm.
as well as a job. And it is really hard, to be able to manage for both. And some of the kids are remote, some of them are in other districts. And so I think given there's an option, I think it behooves them to do what they did. That being said, how can we move this forward so that the people that really benefit from for direct instruction can get it? I suspect, the challenges are going to come up again and again. Is it safe? So I don't have an answer. I'm just saying this is what we're seeing across the community, the same situation where people, some people just have to go to work. And so what are they doing about it? It's a challenging time, but it's not unique to the school district. It's part I guess my point. Thank you.
Right. And just a caveat to my conversation, I'm working very closely with our associations, our teachers, our paras, our administrative assistants, our tutors. I'm working with all of those groups. Last week I met with food service, I met with the bus drivers, just trying to, make sure that we have enough staff to be able to do the work and working together to figure that out. So I feel like things are moving forward, but like Dave said, it's complex. It's not a simple process, and the logistics of matching up everybody can be challenging, but we're working at it. So you asked for numbers, well, for at-risk, the program that you authorized that will begin on September 8th.
Yeah.
It will look different for everyone. So I want you to know that there's lots of options when it comes to that. You know, some of the kids will come in 4 days, the 4 days, and then there'll be, you know, that one flex day. But we'll also have students who come in whose parents have chosen just to have them come in for services. Maybe it's just physical therapy, maybe it's occupational therapy, speech and language, whatever. Those services that will be available to them, but they'll only be opting to take those services and then go home. So that's, again, a choice. Other youngsters will come in, they may stay for half a day, they may work with their special education teacher and then go into a classroom and just do some remote learning with their teacher that's sending, you know, that's their teacher, their classroom teacher. So again, it's giving as much flexibility as we could. Right now, we have 343 students on IEPs that have elected to come to school. In one of those schedules that I just went over, 4 days or part of a day or just for the service. We also have 166 English language learners who have elected to come in and do face-to-face. And we also have 4 students that are on Section 504s. That are willing to, that are coming in to get services. So we're now in the process and we're in the principals, again, they're doing a heroic job of matching up the teachers coming in and the student services and working with the parents and communicating with the parents about that service. We've also worked with Terry Crotty and his Crotty and his team, bus drivers, and they are the principals are giving the Terry the information that he needs around the students that are coming so that he can reroute the buses in order to accommodate the youngsters that need rides. And we're still getting a lot of support from parents who are willing to drive the youngsters to school. So school and pickup. So that's sort of a combination of things also, but Terry and his crew have been great. Same with Donna Reynolds will be providing food for the youngsters while they're at school, just like normal lunches. We'll also be doing lunches out in the community like we did last spring for those youngsters that are at home. But that sort of gives you an idea of the numbers right now. Those are pretty hot off the press today. We updated it this morning and appreciate the work that Bob Belmont did in helping us with that, and certainly Larry Prince in HR, who has been overseeing all of this. So.
I still don't have a hand raising idea, and I know Gina's having some connectivity issues. Danielle, are you able to see people who are raising their hands?
Yep, I can see. I don't see anybody up right now.
You know, okay, great. So I've, you know, in a little bit of the emails and communications I've had with parents of special ed students, for the most part, they feel pretty good about it. You know, there's just so many questions that can't be answered until it unfolds. You know, it's like trying to project how you're going to do in a project or in a game or in an event. You don't know until it happens. But overall, I've had good feedback all the way around. I also know that for those teachers, well, all teachers are dying to get back into the saddle, so to speak. But a lot of the people that are really facilitating the in-person piece are having a blast. So that's helpful. Okay, so the next item on the agenda would be a strategy and a target date for beginning the transition into the hybrid model. This is actually exciting to me, and I think one of the biggest concerns I have felt in the community is this not knowing, sort of feeling like, okay, it's remote, but what does that mean? So I think putting together some sort of plan that lays out target dates and such is a super important piece of calming everyone down, so to speak, but also really having us work. If you don't set a goal, it's easy for the goal never to be reached. So I think having some dates out there that we look at and we know, okay, this is when we need to have things ready, somehow they get ready. So Kathleen, I'm dying to hear if it's you or whoever it is.
Right. Well, I'm tonight, I want to start off, be very clear. Tonight, I'm going to recommend a return, a change in our model from remote to a hybrid. And let me tell you let me give you some data. First of all, we've been watching the data very closely and in Merrimack County, as well as Concord, and information from the hospital. So, using those factors, we feel pretty confident that we're in a good place in terms of the virus. The second piece of data that's really important, and people have to understand this, that we have been and continue to be very strict with the protocols, and those protocols are in place. And we have masks worn by everyone. We adhere to the 6 feet of social distancing. We have signage in the buildings relative to in and out and where to go. They have marked the hallways so that we have kids know which direction to go in and which direction not to go in. And so we feel pretty confident that we have all of the protocols in place to address a safe environment for our youngsters. Matt Cashman has been fabulous in terms of making sure that we had all of the PPE, the personal equipment, protective equipment for our staff, and including gloves, masks, gowns, shields, clear shields, and goggles if necessary. And so we know that we have all of that in place for our staff. We feel pretty confident that it's a safe environment. And as you know, many of our teachers have been in, this week, because this is their professional development, their training sessions, and they've had a lot of work this week. And a number of them are working right in the buildings. And we do the temperature taking every morning. Everybody gets their temperature taken, and they have to use the checklist, the 6 questions that we ask everyone to review every morning. So that we ensure that we reach the highest safety level that we possibly can attain. So with that in mind, with the fact that the virus in this area, the numbers have remained low, and in addition to the fact that we've had athletics going on for the last 4 or 5 weeks in practices, we know that the CRTC was, engaged in June, and we had no outbreaks from that. And that was, as you recall, a pretty heavy time, when the numbers were spiking a little bit. And summer school, over 200 youngsters in summer school and with no outbreak. So given all of that data, I really feel that we're ready to bring the youngsters back. And I would like to recommend to you tonight that we consider, and that you consider, October 5th as a target date to bring our students back. And I'm going to put a little caveat to that. I worry about transitions in our kids. I think that K1 is a huge time in children's lives, right? For all of you that have that age, I happen to have 2 little grandkids that age, and I know how important that age is for the kids. I also know the transition in middle school, 6th grade, is really important. And that's their first time into middle school. And then I think of our high school kids at 9th grade. So I am proposing this, that if everything stays the way it is and our numbers stay low and we've not had any outbreaks and all of our systems are in place, our teachers are matched with students, we have our remote learning teachers, we have our in-person teachers, that on October 5th, we bring those 3 levels in for alone, just those 3 levels for the week. Let them transition, let them get all that attention, make sure they're all set. They know where everything is, where the building is, where their lockers are, whatever systems are in place. And then the following week, we bring everyone else in. As they've been in the schools, they're accustomed to it. They know the routines, right? I think, based on all the data, I feel we're ready.
Barb, Dave's got his hand up.
Okay. David?
Yeah, Barb and Kathleen, thanks very much. I'm pleased to hear that we're really looking carefully at the data as to why we're doing what we're doing. I mean, I think that's what should influence our decisions. It's never going to be risk-free. Kathleen, I appreciate all the work that the faculty, the administration has done to look at this data and analyze it, because these are really hard decisions, and remote can work for a lot of kids, but particularly for the ones you mentioned, but also for real little kids or even the high-achieving high school kids that really need the face-to-face education, or really benefit a lot from face-to-face education. I think it's hard, but I'm really glad that we're clearly looking at the data. And again, I think the data, if it doesn't change, that it's reasonable to be going in the direction you're suggesting. And I am in favor of that.
David,
and
would you like
I
to motion?
actually like the transition, the idea of working with a smaller group first and then bringing the other group in.
David, would you like to move to accept her proposal? David?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. All right, then I guess I'll make the motion.
Oh, okay, yes, I'll make a motion
Okay.
to accept Kathleen's proposal for a hybrid model with the transition piece in place for, I think, October 8th, right? Or
October 5th.
October 5th. Yes.
And I'm happy to second it. And so now would be a good time for us to ask questions and discuss this. I do want to say, I was one of the biggest proponents of starting off remotely, and it wasn't because I was functioning out of fear, as I've been accused of, but it was more knowing that we had a reasonable plan with protocol in place and steps thought out and actual numbers of students, numbers of teachers. And I said this in an email today to the instructional committee, but I'll tell you what, I've been utterly overwhelmed with being impressed with how hard everyone has worked, teachers, all levels of staff, the administration, to put this together. I've had several long talks with Kathleen going around and around with all this, and I feel really good about it. In watching the news all the time, which can be terrifying, in talking to, I have several good friends that live in the South, and I have a good friend that lives in Greenville, North Carolina, and they've had a week of school with no problem, and that's a huge hot zone. But let me tell you, they have the protocol and the things they do are rigid, but it can work, and the kids are in school, and that's where they want to be. So I feel really relieved about this because it gives us a start date. Teachers have the month of September to look at how things are going. We have that month to gather data and see what's happening both locally and nationwide. I'm just excited about it, and I haven't been excited about much in a while. So Kathleen, I just want to say thank you because it's been a pretty incredible process. Is anyone else raising their hands?
Tom's got his hand up.
All right, Tom.
Thank you, Barbara. So someone's asked if we could possibly just talk about the age groups of kids that are going to go back. And I guess I just understood that to be for everyone. Kathleen, is that correct?
Well, I propose, Tom, that we transition certain groups first, that I do the early learners, the K1, and that I do grade 6, first year of middle school, and grade 9, first year of high school, for just that first week in October 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, that we would just do those groups. Again, with respect to the transitions that they need to make there. The following week, everyone would come in, Tom.
Okay, thank you. That was not clear to me, so maybe it wasn't for everybody.
A lot of the thought process behind that, Tom, was that it gives, not only does it give kids the chance to be in the building for the first time just by themselves. The first day of school in 6th grade is just the 6th graders in the morning, and they get to go there and be by themselves, and they've had a move up day. And so so, and then the staff can, they can, as much as you can socialize, they can plan activities that are welcoming to those particular grade levels to make them feel like, yay, we're here. And so that was, and it also doesn't just focus on the youngest kids. Each school level has a group of students coming back that first week. So it's not just starting with the little kids and moving up. It's really looking at the groups of students that would benefit the most from starting off first. I mean, all students would benefit, but it gives these kids a chance to see their new school empty of other people besides them.
Okay, the follow-up to that is, and this is a sort of a clerical point of clarification, I think maybe the vote or the motion should be a recommendation to the full board.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
That's it. I'm sorry.
thank you.
Jim's got his hand up, and then Dave has his hand up.
Okay. Who's first?
Okay, just as a quick point of clarification, just to let you know that October the 12th is Columbus Day and there is no school.
So we have two.
So just just for your setting of dates, I just wanted to bring that information. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and then David, do you have your hand up?
Yes, just quickly, I also, received many emails, both in favor of hybrid and some not. But I think if giving them this amount of time is very reasonable because families, as I said before, need to make arrangements for their children. This is a compassionate community, and we've seen the YMCA, and we've seen the Boys Club, and we've seen people gather together to create pods and other learning situations so that these teachers whose kids are at home, they'll have some time to create some daycare and opportunities. So, and I really appreciate the fact, because I've heard from a lot of these people that we're allowing the little kids, the K through 1 in school. These kids can't learn on their own. They can't learn remotely. And I've heard a lot of the community expressing that concern. So thank you very much for that.
And David, you're fine with rewording the motion to start with that?
Yeah, that was my other thing.
Yes,
My
we'll recommend to the-
rewording my motion, I propose, my motion is to accept the hybrid model, but to propose this hybrid model to the full board for voting on, when's our next meeting?
The 8th, September 8th.
September 8th.
Okay, good. Okay, are there any other hands up, Gina?
You need to second it.
Yeah, Danielle,
Oh, I second it.
Danielle's hand is up.
Okay, go for it, Danielle.
Okay, quick question, I guess, before we do the vote. Is there a specific number or data measurement that we're going to use to say, well, if there are too many cases in Concord, or, this is a safe number, before we decide that we're sending kids back between now and October?
Danielle, that's a great question. And last week, I showed you the matrix that I would use in order to help to make decisions, so that it wasn't just it wasn't an emotional decision or at a whim, but that there was specific data that I would use around the number of cases, and that information would then have us pivot from one model to another. So, we could be in remote, and all of a sudden there's an incredible spike in our area, and I would stay in remote, but it would be based on that matrix that I showed you. I don't have it unless I, I think, Jack, if you have it, can you put it up for Danielle?
Yeah, I'll do that. Just give me a
All
second.
right, we have it. I'll put it up.
Okay, and is that something that is, can be made public just for everybody else to see as well?
Yes, Danielle, that's great. Thank you for reminding me. We put it into the handbook that we posted on the webpage and on all of the school web pages. And if you look in there, it's in there. We put it as part of that packet.
Okay, might be good to have something like that, even just out easy to find on the website for people who are trying to decide about going back or staying remote. Just a thought.
Yeah,
Yep.
like a desktop link. That's
It's
a great idea.
great suggestion, Danielle. And here it is, Danielle. So, you can see it that we would, that I would use the kind of information here to help me decide what would happen at each level. And, right, if there were fewer cases than 1 out of 100,000, if there were 2 and 9. So it gives me some real direction to take, whether we are in school or whether we are remote.
Thank you.
Kathleen, this is excellent. Wonderful. Okay, are
Kathleen,
there any other hands up?
Well, I did, and then I put it back down. So could I ask something?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Could I get a copy of that handbook? I mean, could board members get a copy of the handbook?
Yeah, would you
Or
like
is
me
it
to
only
put it?
electronic?
Yeah, it is electronic now. It's posted, but I'd be happy to give you a copy of it. Do you want it in your board packets or how?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, board packet would be great.
All right.
I'd be happy to print it off.
All right. I will do that.
Okay, so I know that we have some Concord School District admins and staff here. And while this isn't a public comment meeting, I often find with instructional committee especially that some of the best input can come from faculty and staff and admin. So if there's anyone here that has something to add to this, now would be a good time to do it. I'll open that up for you. And if not, that's fine. We can call the vote, but just want to make sure if there's a principal or an admin or a teacher that's here that has something to add, now's your time. It's very quiet. Okay, so I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to call the vote right now. So this will be, yep.
Barb,
yeah.
before we call the vote, can I ask a couple questions?
Oh, of course.
All right, I've been watching the hands, so I haven't really. So the K1 and the 6th graders and the 9th graders, are they going back on the
October 5th?
No, sorry, I'm trying to spit it out. The Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday plan, are they going back 5 days a week?
Yeah,
How are they going back?
Yep, good clarification. They're going back in the hybrid model, which is 2 days a week, 2 on, 2 off, 2 days. Because remember, we still have to split those classes, Gina, because some of the class sizes are large and I can't put them in their classroom. So we have to split them. So we're doing, the AB model.
Okay, I'm trying to make everything clear for people who are watching. And I see that
sometimes after you work with it so much, you forget all the the details that are important for the community to understand. But yes, thank you.
Yeah. Liza has her hand up, and then I want to come around to a different question, but I think she probably has a question about this.
Okay, go for it, Liza.
Thank you. Just a request, which is to put a detailed description of the hybrid plan right on the homepage where we and the public can find it, and right next to it, the decision matrix, so that everyone can kind of see what are those trip points, and is once we're on track to start up with hybrid on the 5th, what is that going to look like? When are we going to know, for example, which kids are in which group, so that we can help with making the cohorts? And if because of recent public events there's a sudden spike, just to be able to see both the decision matrix and the actual plan with as much detail as possible, so that between now and our meeting next Monday, we can make a really informed decision about all of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Liza. All right, Gina.
I actually think, now that I think about it, Kathleen answered my question. I'm anxious to take a look at the decision matrix.
Right. Okay, are there any other hands that I can't see?
I don't see any.
Okay. So what I'll do is I will, at this point, call the vote. So I'll go through, since it's an instructional committee meeting, only the instructional committee members will vote. So when I call your name, simply say nay or yay, and I'll do it one at a time, and then we'll go from there. So Gina.
Could you repeat the motion, or do you want me to read it?
If you could read it, that would be great, since I didn't write it down.
Okay, please make any changes if I miss something.
Yeah.
To recommend to the full board to move to a hybrid model with a 1-week transition from October 5th through 9th for K1, grade 6, and grade 9, and other classes to begin October 12th. That's it.
So, yep, and that it was moved by David, seconded by me. So Gina, how do you feel about this?
Sorry, I have one more question.
Okay.
Which is probably messing up protocol. When is the end of the first marking period? I'm concerned about kids that start remote and then they have to switch teachers halfway through the marking period. And
I think it's the first week in November.
That's correct.
Now we're starting a little late, so it might be a little bit later just because we have, but it's, it's before Thanksgiving.
Can I comment on that?
Yep.
Gina, we did think about that, and doing it at that marking period. We did. We had discussion around that, but we had such good numbers now, getting the kids in as soon as we could, that in terms of that teacher-student relationship was so important that they didn't want to wait till November. People felt it was, a little bit further out, and then we're going to be, we could be challenged with flu season. And so we just decided it looks pretty good right now. Our numbers are good. We'll get things going with remote for a few weeks and then jump into that. So we did consider that.
okay, thank you. I guess I will say aye.
Okay, Danielle,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
and I too vote aye. So the motion passes that the instructional committee will recommend to the full board on Tuesday, September 8th, that we accept and approve Kathleen's planned return for our students to a hybrid model beginning October 5th. So thank you, everybody. Whew. All right, now we can look at an update on CRTC and athletics. That's next on our agenda. So who's going to do that? Is that Steve and Steve, or is that
I don't
you?
know if Steve and Steve are with me, but they've been busy getting ready. I think I can just give you a quick overview. The CRTC is well underway for bringing the kids in from obviously the Concord youngsters, and then the students that are the sending schools. All the programs are up and running. They're working out some challenges in the schedule because you're on, especially if you're out of town and you have a class right after you finish your CRTC. How are they going to work on that, and how will we do that? We've had a lot of cooperation from the other school districts, so all the safety protocols again are in place. Steve has been meticulous in terms of making sure that all those things are in place. So we're ready to go with our programs. Kids separated, smaller groups, and as you know, there's large spaces over in the buildings.
Yeah.
And same with athletics. All the athletics are well underway. All activities and some of the extracurricular. I think I mentioned it in my weekly report, right? That it's nice to see the band kids walking up to the high school with their instruments. And, we haven't seen that since March. So the kids are out in the field practicing. The coaches and the directors have been adamant about following the protocols. And I have to be honest, I've been very clear about the expectations, and they know it. We can't risk anything. So we've asked everybody, they must adhere. I mean, that even our cheerleading coach, changed all her routines just so she could maintain distancing and have the cheerleaders not not so close that that impacts each other. So I'm very happy with what's happening. Both Steve and Steve keep me updated pretty daily around their project. For Steve Mello, he's following NHIAA guidelines. And they will be playing locally, regionally. They have regional competition, so they're not all over the place in terms of their games. The last set of games will begin September 28th is the first football game. So they want to make sure that the kids are well seasoned before the first game so that they don't get hurt.
Yeah.
So I would say we're doing well. I'll give you another update at our next meeting. We'll have even better, I'll have better data because at that point we will have had some competition by your next instructional meeting.
Excellent. Are there any hands up?
I don't see any.
I've had a lot of we've all had a lot of feedback, but lots of positive input from both of those programs. And kids super excited to be participating. I get really teary-eyed looking at all the band pictures. It's just so emotional with all their masks and their little things on their instruments and, you know, taking up the entire field. It's a beautiful thing. So, all right, our next item on the agenda is hands-on science labs. And there'd been some discussion around this too. So I'm interested to see what's going on.
Right. Well, I have to say that we've gotten several requests from the high school science teachers who are eager to have their students in with them in the lab environment. Remember, you know, chemistry, physics, bio, the life sciences are all built around this hands-on, project-based approach to learning, teaching and learning, right? And so they're emailing me pretty frequently, looking for me to approve them to start their classes. At this point, you know, the board made a decision to go remote, and I felt like if I started opening the doors to every class as much as I absolutely understand what they want, so I'm hoping that as soon as we feel it's okay, that I begin to look at the lab classes and open it up, and probably by the 1st of October, that we would allow those particular classes that really need that lab approach to open the doors for them too. So I just wanted to give you an update. I didn't know if you had heard from some of them, you know, that have expressed their concerns, and I didn't want to. I wanted to address it tonight and see what you thought.
Well, I feel like it's one of those things that we're not really ready to make a decision on right now, but we have several instructional committee meetings over the next few weeks, and so this is something that I would like to keep on our radar. Some of the feedback. So 2 things. You have a really enthusiastic bio student that is, you know, severely asthmatic, so can't come to school, but doesn't want to miss out on the labs. And so how do we create a situation where kids that can't aren't missing out or being punished academically? These are the questions that come up from students. So I think this is an important thing to consider, but I think we need more information and more discussion. But I get it too. You know, how do you do a lab when you can't
Right.
stand across the lab bench from somebody?
And of course they see CRTC opening up their doors, you know, and they're right, you know. Well, what is the difference is their question to me. But you know what, if you let us at your next meeting, I'll ask Principal Reardon to join me, and he can share some of the, you know, some of the issues with you, because I know he'll he's been also meeting and discussing this with his teachers.
Are there any other committee members that want to weigh in on this?
I would love to.
All right, go Gina.
So as a science major in college and a science person all through high school, I mean, I get it. There are actually lots of resources out on the web for people to watch videos. Not everyone who dissects a frog needs to have their hands in the innards. But you know, there's a reason why we just said October 12th for everybody else. And the other thing for people who are asking what's the difference between science classes and CRTC is that CRTC coordinates with 8 other schools. It's not just our school. It's not just Concord. So the coordination of that is significantly more complicated than lab science. I get it. I get that people are they want to go back, and I get that, and people want normalcy, but I'm still very concerned that we are not yet at normal, and people in a rush to return to normalcy are going to take risks that we shouldn't, and that's basically my comment. Tom Croto has his hand up, and Dave Parker had his hand up first.
All right, so David and then Tom.
Gina, I really appreciate what you have to say. that being said, our faculty, and I've gotten this from, again, the public, and some of our faculty are frustrated by the fact that we are allowing sports, CRTC, and other, what would you consider hands-on learning activities. Albeit there are many websites that allow us to learn, lab experiments. And for example, we're not, dissecting cats much anymore. So not to be gross, but I think some of these teachers see the lab experience, particularly things like physics and chemistry, is something they can't really do well at home. And I whether we allow it or not, I appreciate their advocacy for labs and science. It's one of those areas of learning where you can be more, hands-on, and you're seeing and feeling what's going on. So I obviously see both sides to that, but I really like the advocacy that the science teachers are pushing for. Thank you.
Well, I think that both of these comments, both of you sort of sitting on either side of the seesaw, so to speak, support the idea that we should keep this on our radar and have it be an ongoing discussion. I think a week from now and 2 weeks from now, we'll have a lot more information. And if it seems logical to make a decision to have that start up sooner than October 5th, then we can do it at that time. But I think right now there's too much to find out before we can really look at that in an official way. So Kathleen, I appreciate your effort. And I think my suggestion would just be to keep it on our agenda and to bring it up again the next time that we meet. Are there any other hands up? Oh, Tom Croto, it's your turn. Sorry about that.
Sure.
I forgot.
That's okay. It's hard to do these remote meetings. So I know that this is painstakingly slow when we discuss these things, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that if we look at each of the programs, when we try to deal with them as they come through and analyze each one of them, I think we're going to end up doing a better job in the long run. So I think Kathleen should continue to come forward with recommendations. And if we have to have an instructional committee meeting every week or twice a week to go through these things, I think it's a great idea. I think it really gives us a chance to analyze what's good and what's bad and what we ought to do. So that's my take. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that input. Are there any other hands up?
Yep, Danielle just put her hand up. And then there's a person in the chat, and Lyndon, you may want to talk to that, about a teacher administrator.
Yes, George Golden is one of our teachers is on the call. Yeah. I invited him to speak if he wanted to, suggested that he put his hand up if he wanted to. So he's up. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll do Danielle and then George.
Actually, I'll let George go first because I'm going to take it back to a different topic. So I don't want to get all over the place. So he can go first and I'll go later.
Thanks, Danielle. All right, George.
Hi, how's it going? This is George. I'm just concerned about my classes. I've been meeting with Steve and the rest of the CRTC people these past couple of weeks with meetings, and we've been talking a lot about how to get my classes under the CRTC umbrella so that maybe in a couple of weeks I can at least meet my students part-time as a hybrid program, because as you know, it's pretty challenging teaching woodworking remotely. And as I wrote in my letter to the board a few weeks ago, architectural drawing is also a challenge. And that's why NHTI went to a hybrid program for their architecture program, because that's very tough, if nearly impossible, to teach remotely, especially that when there's hand drawing components as well as drafting. And so I wanted to know, what is the chances of the technology education program possibly going to a hybrid sooner than the other departments or as maybe along with the science labs.
Well, George, thank you so much. This is new to me. There's a lot of information coming in, so I apologize for being in the dark a bit. You make a really good point. So I guess obviously there's not an answer for that right this minute. But Kathleen, is that something that you can sort of put into that umbrella of lab science type things, and we can look into some option? I mean, it's hard to say. Again, there's so many things that are, well, everything's better in person, but yeah, drafting and woodwork and those, you can't fix a car engine on TV, and it's the same way with building and things like this. So, George, thank you for bringing that up. I'm the chair of the committee, and I'm in the dark about it, so I apologize for that. Is there anything, does anyone else want to comment on George's piece before we go to Danielle? Okay. All right, Danielle.
I was just going to say,
Oh.
I did write a letter though to the whole board. I thought I got everyone's
It could be
email.
I missed it. It could be me. I'm owning it, not you.
And I just thought maybe that could be thought about along with the science labs, because I'm kind of in a tough situation here, making it a really positive program and experience for the kids, and not having the ability to do any hands-on activities with them.
Yep. Yeah, it makes sense. It's
And
logical.
I'm also a one-person department.
So that doesn't make it easy either. All right, Kathleen, were you taking furious notes?
I did. Thank you. Thank you, George.
Okay, thank you for listening.
Yep, anytime. All right, Danielle.
Sorry to go backwards. I just was thinking about things, and I was thinking about what Kathleen said with having over 300 staff that are right now remote. And I just was wondering, it might not be a question that she can answer today, but definitely for the full board meeting, if there were any holes that she would foresee, whether it might be high school math, that there's a lot of teachers that are going to be out for the high school, and that would cause a problem for hybrid, or I don't know, maybe elementary is easier to sort of cover for each other, but just with some of those high school classes, I'm wondering if there might be any issues with staffing.
Danielle, that's kind of the question that we're doing right now. All the principals are looking at that and looking at the staff that's coming in and meeting the needs of the youngsters. We anticipate we may have some based on the information we have. So that's why we're doing like an outreach to staff almost one by one to evaluate their status. Again, because so many of them indicated flexibility with us, and so we obviously will take advantage of that. And so we're working on that now. I'll have a better idea as the week as we finish up this week.
Okay, that makes sense. I just was
Yeah,
thinking as we make a vote, I don't want to leave people sort of without classes or in a bind for schedule.
Right.
Thank you.
Liza's got her hand up.
All right, go ahead, Liza.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking along the same lines as Danielle. Since remote is going to be an option no matter what, I'm just concerned that the number of teachers that we need is greater than 100%. So not all of them in person, but I just feel like if you think of a teacher in a classroom with 10 students, and then the other 10 students who would be in that classroom, and for an elementary school class, just for an example, and so that teacher is not also teaching remote at the same time. So I just want us to be mindful of the math involved here, and the fact that we really need quite a lot of teachers to make the hybrid go. And so we're going to have to stay right on top of that and make sure that it is logistically possible, given the fact that so many people are going to need to stay home. Thank you.
That's been a driving force, Liza, in my many conversations with Kathleen around how to let this unfold. So much of it is just the logistics of staffing. And and how that might look building to building and grade to grade. So those are really good things to think about. So thank you. Are there any other hands up?
There's mine again.
Oh, go for it, Gina.
So I'm back to if the two cohorts, Monday, Thursday, and Tuesday, Friday, are getting live instruction on their in-person day, and what I call sort of flat instruction, meaning that they won't have an interactive instruction on their off day. My concern is that we're only going to get through half the curriculum. And I don't know what we're doing to address that. And maybe there's nothing we can do. Maybe that's the best we can do during this time. But spring went very badly when it was flat instruction. And I don't see a lot of people being thrilled about flat instruction 2 days a week.
Well, we've talked about that on occasion, and no one's going to disagree with you. I mean, you're going 2 days a week of direct instruction. The other 2 days are, as you describe it, to be flat instruction. There's no question. If flat instruction worked, we wouldn't have our teachers. And I know that
we
our
wouldn't have
teachers,
this problem. Exactly.
right, our teachers are our most valuable resource. And so, you're not wrong. We've asked the teachers, however, and they've been working on this, that they focus on the essential curriculum, core curriculum competencies, and that they really, and so what might be essential to you may not be essential to someone else. I don't want to get into that debate, but I do trust our teachers. They know their curriculum, they know the competencies, and they're going to focus on those essential competencies. It will be really interesting in the fall when we bring the youngsters back, because one of the things that we'll do is we'll do some, after they get adjusted, probably closer to November, if all goes well, that we'll do some assessments so that we'll begin to assess where are the pitfalls, where are the holes in their learning progress. So we've talked about that. Donna and I have talked about that, about what kinds of tools we'll use to assess where the youngsters are at. There won't be a state assessment as we normally, remember it. So, but you're not bringing up anything. We understand that. How can you have a full curriculum that you do in 180 days of direct instruction, and now you've broken it down to less days?
Yeah. That's just my concern.
Yep, no, I hear you. We hear you.
Are there any other hands up?
I don't see any.
All right, thank you. Okay, our
Jack
last.
just put his hand up. Nope, Jack just put his hand up.
Go for it, Jack.
No, ignore, sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess it was a mistake.
Yeah. So Barb, the last one is just professional development. I think you asked about what kinds of professional development has the district has been ongoing since the year began. And so I asked Donna to go back and look at all of the professional development that we've had. I will also include this in some of our remarks on next week also, so that the community knows that we're addressing some of those topics that are critical goals for the school board. So Donna, could you do that, please?
Yeah, just very quickly, this packet is in the board committee's online packet. It's called, I think, Summer and Fall PD. So you can take a look at it. It's an extensive document. We offered professional development starting in early July through current, over 50 learning opportunities for staff, many of which were presented by our own staff, some of which were presented by people that we have partnered with in the past that we hired to, or they're part of partner agencies to come in and do, and some of which we led people towards that were provided by others. We didn't require everyone to sign in for everything. Some of it was used, some of it were links that were given. Most of this was online. Actually, all of it was online learning. But we had over 350 participants sign up for the ones that we did ask for them to sign in for. So lots of really positive aspects. The topics ranged from social emotional learning to teaching in these sorts of situations, remote, hybrid, flipped classrooms, all those sorts of ideas, as well as some very specific areas like teaching math is amongst the challenges, and so there were quite a few opportunities around teaching math, and then of course lots of opportunities around technology and using various aspects of technology to support learners when they're in different situations. This fall, we've started with, as you know, the teachers have 6 days before school starts that they're working. Some of it is professional learning and training. Some of it is work for them to get together with their colleagues and set up and organize their virtual classrooms and regular classrooms and contact with families and all of that. But the shared training across the district that's mandatory includes on reporting abuse and neglect. There's a new law that requires 2 hours of suicide prevention training, and we've worked with NAMI. The Alliance on Mental Illness has provided some really great online training that everyone's doing. Title IX, sexual harassment, reporting, bullying, employee-student relations, those are all under the auspices of Karen Fisher Anderson, has been doing that in all of the buildings, most of it, again, remotely. COVID-19 safety procedures and protocols trainings are being run by the school nurses who've done yeoman's work, really a fantastic situation with our nurses who've just stepped up and pulled together this training. And our digital learning specialists offering a great lot of remote learning supports, starting with things like our core Google Classroom, which we use across the district, Seesaw, which is used just for preschool through grade 2, Zoom, which we're starting to use, and other level-specific applications, elementary grade math, social emotional learning. So lots and lots of topics. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but happy to answer questions and happy to have you take a look at the document that we provided for you.
Oh, Tom's got his hand up.
Okay. Tom?
Thank you, Barbara. So Donna, thank you. And you said that document is in our file?
Mm-hmm. In your board 2020 in the instructional committee file.
Perfect. Thank you. Without having looked at it already, just a gut feeling from a very experienced educator. Are we feeling like our staff is in pretty good shape in terms of their training and their confidence? Granted, it's all brand new, with their ability to do work remotely, with the technology component, and possibly, well, at least that part of it, with the technology I'm most concerned about. Because I've heard a few people say, you know what, I'm really nervous about it, haven't done it, I don't know much about it right now, and they were legit concerns at that point. That was a week or so ago.
So Google Classroom, people have been using since March. So I think there's always things to learn from that. That's our sort of core container for our work. And there's always things to learn. And Seesaw was used by preschool to grade 2, but Zoom is new. Well, we've had Google Classroom, Google Meets. Sorry, so you guys are using, there's all these different, as you know, from your own work or personal life or these meetings, there's a whole variety of containers for meetings. Go to meetings and Google Meets and Microsoft Teams, and Zoom is another one. And many of us have experienced Zoom. Some of us have been the runner of the program, but a lot of teachers haven't yet. So we still have Google Meets available for people if they're nervous, but we're trying to move people over to Zoom because it has a lot more protections and security and control for the teacher. They can mute, they can ask kids to leave the space, they can keep kids in what's called a waiting room before they come into class. They have a whiteboard that they can use to write on. There's just a lot more. And so, yes, if you're a teacher and you haven't used something, of course you're going to be nervous about it. We're all nervous the first time we do some new things. So hopefully we've got some strong digital learning specialists in our school. We used to call them tech integrators, so they have a new title, but from the state, but they're very supportive and strong. So I can't say that everybody is completely confident. I'd be surprised if they were, but hopefully they'll all get lots of support and ask questions and get help. So I think they'll learn it. It's not, they're honestly, they're not all that different one from the other. As if you've experienced them, you probably know that.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you, Donna. I taught all spring using Zoom when I was teaching at the charter school. And I will say that the teacher really, really facilitates every aspect of the meeting. And we had a lot of, there's a little break, you can do breakout rooms, you can do so many things, all manipulated by the teacher. Really, really super good. So I'm glad that we have that option for teachers. Having used the Microsoft Teams and then also Google Meets, I find Zoom to be way more user-friendly, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think people will like it. We're not pulling the Google Meets out from under them just in case they're super anxious. We do have a bunch of new applications that are very specific to certain areas, certain grade levels, certain content areas, but we're trying not to throw a million things out at people at one time. So let's get started. I think the digital learning specialists really wanted to focus on Google Classroom, Seesaw, and Zoom this week, and then starting some other things, but let people get started and not make them crazy. So hopefully we'll take it a bit at a time.
Wonderful. Thank you, Donna. Are there any hands up on this besides mine that was now down?
Don't see any.
All right. So that completes the agenda of items for our meeting tonight. Unless anyone, has something else that they feel they'd like to add right now, I have to say I feel pretty good about it. I have a lot of anxiety around school board meetings sometimes, and it's just a privilege to be, in charge of this committee because, it's just important that we all have a handle on what's going on and what we're expecting from our students and our teachers. So I like the challenge, and I appreciate the hard work. I'll say it again. Everyone is just 110% all the time. So if there's nothing else, Kathleen, are we ready? We can close the meeting and go on our merry way?
I'm fine. Thank you.
So would someone like to move that we adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, David. Anyone would like to second?
Second.
All right, Danielle. So moved by David, seconded by Danielle. So we can just do a group. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, teachers and admins. Thank you, other board members, community members. Thank you so much. And please share your thoughts and emails and such. We look at it and listen to it all. All right. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.